The objective of the labor inspection is to further strengthen the implementation of the visitorial and enforcement powers under the Labor Code as renumbered towards securing a higher level of compliance with labor laws and standards and ensuring continuity and sustainability of compliance at workplaces. For this purpose, the Department of Labor and Employment delegates this function to the regional offices with the issuance of a list of labor inspectors who are given the authority of conduct inspection, which covers all private establishments, including their branches and workplaces in the regions. The regional offices enforce labor laws and social legislation through the conduct of labor inspection, occupational safety and health investigation, and technical and advisory visit. Special inspections may be conducted as may be deemed necessary. With the provision for mobile devices and gadgets, the DOLE developed an inspection management information system. An important feature of the system is data capture and transmittal from the field in real time, as an electronic checklist is filled up through the use of mobile devices and gadgets. Data are instantly available for viewing and processing to generate reports, statistics, and summons, including real-time monitoring of decent work indicators based on the country's decent work profile. The TAB, or Technical and Advisory Visit, aims to provide assistance to the micro-establishments, or establishments that have 1 to 9 employees, to be sustainable, productive, and competitive. It also aims to transition our micro-establishments to the formal economy that is profitable, while also complying with our labor laws and occupational safety and health standards. There are different ways or modalities to avail TAB. First is the online method. Establishments can enroll in the self-paced technical and advisory modules through our learning management system. For establishments that opted to go with online, they must accomplish the modules within 1 month from the time they registered. Second is on-site. The DOLE regional, field, and provincial offices conduct on-site or face-to-face orientation for the technical and advisory services, wherein micro-establishments are invited to attend. Third is hybrid setup. Establishments can enroll in on-site sessions and attend virtual meetings or webinars using various online platforms like MS Teams, Viber, Skype, Zoom, or Google Meet.
Establishment owners carry a big responsibility to comply with labor laws, including submitting reports and providing documents like payroll records during inspections. But the manual filing process is a major challenge. They need to spend time, money, and effort to fill out forms and deliver them to the DOLE office, often dealing with traffic and delays. Sometimes, there's a long wait just to confirm if the report is accurate and complete. And it's not just employers facing difficulties. DOLE employees also struggle with limited manpower and the time-consuming task of reviewing and processing these reports. The time has come for change. What's required now is a more innovative, streamlined, and efficient process for handling compliance reports. One that will simplify life not just for businesses but also for DOLE employees. Welcome to the DOLE Online Compliance Portal, your all-in-one platform for seamless compliance submissions, designed to make compliance easier and more convenient for establishment owners. Telecommuting reports? Flexible work arrangements submissions? Reporting the 13th month pay? No problem. Even work accident or illness reports and the annual establishment report on wages, everything you need is now in one convenient portal. Plus, the DOLE Online Compliance Portal now includes the latest requirement for reporting movie and television shoots under Department Order 246, Series of 2024. All your compliance needs in one place, quick, secure, and hassle-free. With the DOLE Online Compliance Portal, registering your establishment is a breeze. Our automatic registration system ensures you are instantly compliant with OSH Standard Rule 1020. Once submitted, your certificate of registration is immediately available for download, saving you time and effort. Your establishment has been flagged for non-compliance during labor inspection. Don't worry. Required documents can be submitted quickly and conveniently. And if you're missing certain policies, like a mental health program or OSH program, we've got you covered with downloadable templates. Submit these documents directly through the portal, where DOLE inspectors will review, provide feedback, and keep you on track for compliance. With admin access on the DOLE online compliance portal, the labor inspectors can easily review the submitted reports and documents from the establishments. If further verification is needed, they can schedule an online meeting through Google Meet, all within the portal. This streamlines compliance checks, saving time and making the process more efficient for everyone. It's a smarter, more efficient way to stay compliant and keep your business running smoothly. Welcome to a new era of compliance, simplified, fast, and effective with the DOLE online compliance portal.
Magandang hapon po sa ating viewers sa Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. Welcome po sa isa na namang makabuluhang episode ng Webinar Wednesdays, handog ng Department of Labor and Employment, hosted by the Bureau of Working Conditions. I am Criza Darlina Silom, and I will be your host for today's webinar. Sa ating episode 42 today, we will be tackling a very timely topic. Ito ang latest Labor Advisory number 15, series of 2025, entitled Promoting Labor and Management Preparedness and Protecting Labor Rights During Imminent Danger Arising from Disruptive Events. Before we begin our webinar, let us start with a prayer.
Let us bow our head and put ourselves in the holiness of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Dear Almighty and ever-loving God, we glorify and thank your name. You have showered us with so much blessings, and your presence continuously remind us of your faithfulness and guidance. May we humbly ask you to shower our speaker today of your greatest inspiration, so that he may share the most of his knowledge, his field of expertise, and to his respective topics. May we also absorb the invaluable knowledge, experiences, and put it into practice that we may learn today. Your infinite blessing would mean the success of this webinar. May we be a living witnesses of your genuine love through the enactment of the knowledge acquired through this activity. We ask this in the name of your Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Good afternoon po ulit sa ating mga Facebook viewers. Thank you po for joining us today. Paki-heart and like react na lang po sa ating live stream. Please hit the follow button on our Facebook page, DOLE BWC 1949, to get updated on the latest announcements and know more about labor standards and occupational safety and health standards in the workplace. For questions and clarifications, please use the comment section below the screen, and a resource speaker will address them during the question and answer portion. Now, we will proceed with the discussion proper. Ang tinatawag na disruptive events ay ang mga hindi inaasahan at extraordinary na pangyayari na pwedeng makasagabal sa normal work operations at magdulot ng immediate changes sa mga workers kahit habang nasa trabaho sila o papunta at pauwi mula sa kanilang workplace. Kasama rito ang iba't ibang uri ng disasters, industrial accidents, public health emergencies, at iba pang extraordinary situations na nagbabanta sa worker safety at business continuity. Before we dive in, allow me to introduce po our speaker who will be guiding us through today's webinar. He is the Director for the DOLE Bureau of Working Conditions. Everyone, please welcome Attorney Alvin B. Corrada.
Thank you, Krisa. Audible ba ako?
Yes po, Attorney Alvin. Good afternoon
Thank
po.
you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Krisa, and good afternoon to our viewers ng ating webinar this afternoon. We're also live sa Facebook account po ng Department of Labor and Employment. Maraming pong salamat for joining us this afternoon. Ang ating pong discussion is timely and relevant on what is happening to the country. In light po na maraming mga disruptive events that affected workers and ating mga employers and workplaces as well. The Secretary of Labor, si Secretary Laguesma, issued po a new labor advisory. This is Labor Advisory 15, series of 2025. This was issued last November 26, 2025 on promoting labor and management preparedness and protecting labor rights during imminent danger arising from disruptive events. If you recall, the department also issued Labor Advisory 17 series of 2022, but this is on suspension of work in the private sector by reason of weather disturbances and similar occurrences. The previous Labor Advisory ay maikli po yung Labor Advisory ng 2022, focused on yung Section 1 niya, suspension of work, and then yung Section 2 naman, payment of wages, and then yung Section 3 naman ay no liability in case of failure or refusal to work. So very, very short, and at the same time, in 2022, timely itong Labor Advisory 15 na inisyo din ni Secretary Laguesma. But between 2022 and 2025, marami pong nangyari sa atin. Naging pronounced po yung impact ng climate change. And then aside from natural calamities, maraming din dahil nangyayari sa ating bansa that affected also our employers, workers, and workplaces. And that's why the department adopted po a more inclusive approach in addressing disruption in workplaces. Hence, the issuance of this labor advisory. Next slide. Yung ating pong labor advisory ngayon, as mentioned, ay inclusive in the sense that it captures not just natural calamities contemplated under Labor Advisory 17, kasi ang title po ng Labor Advisory 17 natin ay Weather Disturbances and Similar Occurrences. So similar meaning related to weather, and kung related to weather, baka it might also relate to natural calamities. But disruptive events is more inclusive because it accommodates other situations that also disrupts yung normal operations, normal work operations sa ating mga workplaces. At the same time, dala nitong disruptive events yung imminent danger sa ating mga manggagawa, sa mga nagninegosyo, while they are at work and going to, traveling, going to, and traveling from or going to their residences or homes. Kaya po ang ginamit natin ay disruptive events. So the examples ng disruptive events, nabanggit ni Krisa kanina, yung natural disaster, ito yung mga earthquakes, typhoons, and other similar disasters. But disruptive events other than human-induced and natural calamities also captures public health emergencies. Aware tayo ng pandemic, but meron din tayo mga epidemic na local, ang effect ay local lang, either provincial or regional, that might also disrupt work. Recently, may mga social, religious activities. Kami dito sa Manila, may mga disruption kami ng January. And I think 2 weeks ago, may mga disruptions din kami sa aming mga kasama sa Dole and mga nagtatrabaho sa Manila because of a political and social event na malapit dito sa Luneta or malapit dito sa Intramuros. So lahat ito ay kinover na natin sa Labor Advisory. So whenever we ask ano ang coverage ng Labor Advisory, halos lahat na ay kinover ng Labor Advisory. Basta ang importante, may disruption sa normal work operation, and then may imminent dangers na dala para sa manggagawa, nagninegosyo, may imminent danger sa mga workplaces. Ito po ay covered ng ating Labor Advisory. When we mention also imminent danger, yung imminent danger kasi I hope yung ating mga safety officer ay kasama natin sa ating webinar ngayon kasi tinuturo itong identification ng risks, hazard, and imminent danger. Pero ang sinasabi natin, ito ay naka-align din sa Republic Act 11058. Ito yung mga condition, situation, or practices na pag meron ito sa mga workplaces, situation, practices, or conditions na posibleng makaharm sa ating mga manggagawa, na posibleng ikamatay ng ating mga manggagawa, or kung hindi man ikamatay, serious physical harm. So mga example nito, yung mga structural collapse, kung ito ay physical hazards, meron ding mga exposure ng mga live wires, and then meron mga storage ng flammable materials. Lahat yon kung sobrang dami ng flammable materials, hindi maayos yung pagka-store, that will also arise on imminent danger sa ating mga workplaces. Sa ating mga workplaces naman, may mga biological hazards dahil sila ay into agriculture, into pharmaceuticals, and other similar fields. Meron din tayo mga workplaces na malayo sa city. So, mayroon ding vector-borne diseases na sinasabi or hazards brought by mosquitoes na posible silang makagat. Sa environmental hazards naman, yung patuloy na pagtaas ng tubig, kung typhoon yan, yung malakas na hangin na may dala siguro mga debris. Kung ito naman ay volcanic eruption, posible yung mga ashes na makaka-harm din sa ating mga manggagawa. Meron din yung mga social and political events, ang mga hazards naman diyan. Baka unsafe yung transport, baka yung shuttle service ay hindi makakontinue ng kanyang or hindi safe na mag-transport ng mga tao from one place to another, or yung ibang mga human-caused hazards or human-induced hazards, yung workplace violence din. So lahat ng ito ay within the context of imminent danger. So nakalagay dito sa Labor Advisory yung definition ng imminent danger, pero hindi naman naiiba yung konsepto ng imminent danger sa Labor Advisory sa RA 11058 in the sense that ang safety officer pa rin through the Safety and Health Committee, doon nang gagaling yung determination ng imminent danger natin. So dito sa ating Labor Advisory, we did not create obligation, we did not create additional provision, but ito ay clarification lang of existing provisions under Republic Act 11058. Next slide. And if you check yung phrasing ng ating Labor Advisory, mapapansin nyo na unlike sa Labor Advisory 17, hindi ito nakasentro sa suspension of work. Hindi ito nakasentro sa payment of wages. If you will appreciate the Labor Advisory, ang kanyang highlight ay prevention. Kaya nagsimula agad ang Labor Advisory ng pagkakaroon ng comprehensive, at hindi lang comprehensive, sinasabi natin comprehensive and responsive occupational safety and health program. The labor advisory also tightened the link between in an occupational safety and health program and having a business continuity and disaster preparedness plan. Sinasabi natin that the OSH program now should have a business continuity and disaster preparedness plan para ma-address, parang kung if we intend to address lahat ng imminent danger arising from disruptive events, we also wanted enterprises to continue its business. Minimal yung impact ng ating ng disruptive events sa ating negosyo. And itong mga naka-outline na mga responsibilities imposed upon employers through safety officers and safety and health committees, ito din ay naka-align sa ating RA 11058 tsaka yung ating bagong IRR, Department Order 252. Yung ating safety officers ay may principal mandate of conducting yung HIRAC natin, hazard identification and risk assessment, and more importantly, yung implementation ng control. And whenever hazards are identified, risks levels are determined, dapat merong mga provisions sa ating program on strategies for emergency response and crisis management. Kung aabot man yan at the level of a crisis, dapat merong crisis management. And to operationalize itong management side of it, to operationalize yung strategies and programs, dapat klaro din yung ating crisis management and recovery committee. While the labor advisory identified a crisis management and recovery committee, pwede naman at the internal level, yung membership itong crisis management and recovery committee, yun din yung nasa safety and health committee. Dapat lang distinct kasi yung safety and health committee, meron silang specific function, specific agenda items that should be discussed. Dadagdagan lang natin ng crisis management and recovery so that meron tayong crisis management and recovery committee. So it should not be an issue na doble-doble ang committee. Hindi po dapat ganun ang ating perspective. And then the labor advisory also highlighted yung impact, yung iba-ibang impact sa iba-ibang workers natin. Of course, iba-iba ang status sa buhay ng ating mga empleyado. And then meron tayo mga differently abled workers. And then yung vulnerabilities ng women and men ay magkaiba din. So whenever nakita na natin yung mga examples ng disruptive events, makikita rin natin na iba-iba din dapat yung program, strategies, and measures that we should implement para makapture natin yung vulnerabilities ng iba-ibang klase ng ating mga workers. And the labor advisory also urges yung ating mga employers na i-test through drills, through practice siguro, any update natin within the framework ng continuous improvement so that maging responsive yung ating occupational safety and health program. If you remember when we released yung ating Department Order 252, nag-attach na tayo ng occupational safety and health program template. Pag nakita niyo yun, nakasama na rin po doon yung business continuity and disaster preparedness provision. So it's really, we've already disseminated yung frame, yung outline. It's really a matter of lagyan na lang ng mga provisions ng ating OSH program at i-re-examine natin further at lagyan natin ng responsive, tailor-fitted na business continuity and disaster preparedness plan po natin. And then dahil ang ating labor advisory is more on preventives, is more on preventing yung impact, preventing yung effect sa business at sa manggagawa natin, as a result of having a program, dapat yung program din natin disseminated sa ating mga manggagawa. It should not be enough na nakapost sila sa ating mga workplaces, Dapat meron pero hindi naman siguro din na iupo mo sa isang session yung ating mga manggagawa and then mag-lecture ka ng program. Pwede naman section 1 muna ng program this week, next week naman section 2 kasi para magkaroon din ng time yung ating mga empleyado to process the provisions of the program. Ako, I don't also recommend na isahan lang yung ating OS program orientation. I wanted na kami sa DOLE want na tuloy-tuloy yung ating orientation ng OS program kasi kung tuloy-tuloy, while we orient our workers, magkakaroon din tayo ng feedback from our workers, ano yung gap, anong deficiency, whether the provisions are still responsive at ano ang pwedeng i-improve sa ating mga program. Kung ang ating workplaces ay, ang ating negosyo ay micro, small, or wala dito sa National Capital Region but in some other places, let us also consider yung orientation natin ng OS programs in a dialect that most of our workers understand. Mahirap naman magkaroon ng disconnect yung appreciation ng ating program. Maganda yung ating program but it was not conveyed in a manner, in a culture na naka-align sa ating mga workers. So yun lahat ay dapat i-consider whenever we hold information sessions for our workers. Next. Again, gusto kong ulit-ulitin na ang labor advisory nasa preventive side. Kaya naka-highlight din dito yung control measures kasi ayaw natin pumunta sa agad-agad sa suspension of work. Ayaw agad nating pumunta sa usapin other than preventive. Dapat preventive tayo so that we can avoid yung difficulties and challenges of yung mga policy implementation ng company rules and regulation towards na nangyari na yung event. So whenever imminent dangers are detected, either through HIRAC, either through reports ng ating mga manggagawa, meron tayong hierarchy of control measures. Pero hindi naman talaga ito strict na dapat mauna yung elimination, pangalawa yung engineering control, pangatlo yung admin controls. Pwede naman na simultaneous silang gagawin. Pwede naman yung elimination and engineering can be simultaneously done. Yung administrative controls and engineering controls, pwede namang simultaneous din ang gagawin dahil magkaiba sila ng aspetong kino-cover. What the department lang wants to emphasize is that yung pagbibigay ng PPE is the last in the hierarchy of controls natin. Dapat mauna muna yung elimination, engineering, and administrative control, and last na po natin yung personal protective equipment. Minsan po kasi pag kami po when we engage sa ating mga stakeholders, popular sa ating mga stakeholders yung PPE, not knowing na dapat last nang ini-implement yon kasi baka mayroon pang mas effective na control measures that would address yung impact ng imminent danger and harm sa ating mga manggagawa. On elimination or substitution, dito mangyayari yung either temporary kung merong imminent danger, either imminent danger na nakita mo na bago ito mangyari because merong pronouncements ng ating government authorities. Ito ay imminent danger na nandiyan na. So, you might want to consider yung elimination or substitution. Pwedeng temporary relocation, kung may mga ganun tayong option. Kung meron tayong option na partial muna, suspension ng work, and then yung iba naman may continue but doon sa affected work site pwedeng tumuloy, so meaning hybrid kayo, or pwede namang mag-adapt muna ng iba pang mga trabaho, replace hazardous tasks with safer options. Halimbawa, kung kailangan mong mag-repack in an environment na medyo hindi maayos dahil katatapos lang ng natural calamity. Magkanda ka ng work in a place, in a location, in a community na merong epidemic. So you might want to relocate our workers, you might want to relocate yung workplace nila in other areas, in other municipalities or cities na safe yung ating mga manggagawa at yung mga produkto din natin will not bring yung mga virus and other bacteria and might cause also epidemic in other localities. So ito yung konsepto ng substitution or elimination. You want to eliminate yung work, you want to substitute yung mga jobs or job or work. You might want to substitute how you do things, and you might want to eliminate entirely the imminent danger by removing yung ating mga workers from the work site through suspension in the affected area ng ating mga workplaces. The next control is on engineering controls. So yung engineering controls, katulad na sabi kong kanina, pwede itong i-implement doon sa elimination or substitution. Because pag sinabing engineering controls, baka yung mga engineers sasabihin nila, application na ng engineering principles. That partly right, kasi yung mga engineering controls natin ay relates to structural safety. Kung ito ay halimbawa merong explosion, yung engineering controls can also be adapted kung yung katabing building ay nasunog. So that will also impact on the structural integrity of a nearby building dahil yung init ng fire might also weaken yung reinforced concrete sa iba-iba sa nearby buildings natin. So yung engineering controls relates to structural safety. It also relates to kung may mga leak ng chemicals. It also relates to proper ventilation. Kasi kung may mga chemicals ka na nag-leak, dapat yung speed ng inyong fan ay adequate to flush yung mga chemicals and to ensure yung safety ng ating mga manggagawa. So ganun yung konsepto ng ating engineering controls. And then yung administrative controls naman natin ay more on adoption ng alternative work arrangement. Minsan nga pag when I think I was interviewed once by a media organization on business continuity plan. Ang sinasabi namin sa department, i-anticipate na natin na kung natural calamity yung pag-uusapan, we can already anticipate na in a year, merong at least 26, I think that's the projection ng Pag-asa, na around 26 typhoons or sama ng panahon yung mararanasan natin sa isang locality. So kung nakita na natin na gano'n yung projection ng Pag-asa, dapat ready na rin tayo how we should continue our business kahit na may ganong projection ang Pag-asa. Sinasabi namin palagi na hindi na bago yung flooding, hindi na bago yung dito sa amin, yung January na religious event. Hindi na mabago sa Manila, sa Manila area dahil January naman talaga nangyayari yung parade, religious parade. So by now, if your office is located, for example, in Quezon City and you have employees traveling from Novaliches and the rest of your employees ay traveling from Cavite, you can already anticipate na probably yung mga taga Cavite ay will be affected dahil ang parade ay doon ang daan mismo where the public transport ay dumaraan din. Pero yung manggagaling ng Quezon City might not be affected. So kung nagkaroon ka ng ganong extensive profiling ng ating manggagawa, madali na lang isulat yung business continuity in relation to what work arrangement should be adapted. Nandiyan naman yung telecommuting law natin that allows um, um, work, digital work sa ibang location. Aside from telecommuting, meron tayong alternative work arrangements pa na ito naman ay hindi pa namin na pwede pa naman i-adapt ng ating mga companies. So in administrative control, hindi dito sinasabi na mag-suspend, but ang administrative controls highlights the importance of profiling yung ating mga manggagawa. Ano ang in terms of age, in terms of competence to perform digital work, in terms of saan sila dadaan, ano ang mode of transport nila. Kung malaman natin lahat yon, madali na natin makapagsabi, hey, itong area na ito yung profile ng mga workers, dito sila dadaan. And sa ating profiling, kaya nila mag-digital work. Probably they can work remotely. Pero itong galing dito naman, clear sila ngayon. Nakita natin sa MMDA, kung nasa Metro Manila po kayo, sa MMDA forecast na walang traffic, walang disturbance yung route nila, then they should okay silang pumasok. Mga ganong arrangement ang ating titignan within the context of administrative control. So dito importante again, profiling, exploring iba-ibang alternative work arrangements, and i-plot na natin itong mga administrative control sa iba-ibang context ng iba-ibang klaseng disruptive events. The next one is on personal protective equipment. Dapat ready tayo palagi nito. Minsan itong personal protective equipment, narinig namin and we recognize yung concerns ng ibang businesses, lalo na yung maliliit na businesses, ng added cost sa ating personal protective equipment. Pero yung ating mga micro-enterprises can adapt naman yung mga available na mga personal protective equipment na hindi naman ganun kamahal, just to put a layer of protection between the workers and the situations that might cause harm sa kanila sa ating mga manggagawa. After ng control measures natin, so nanggaling tayo sa definitions ng alternative, ng disruptive events, imminent danger, nanggaling tayo sa discussion of having a comprehensive and responsive occupational safety and health program, highlighting also the importance and integration ng business continuity and resiliency plan. Pupunta naman tayo sa arrangement to ensure workers' safety and health. Although nabanggit ko na kanina, kasi itong arrangements to ensure workers' safety and health, part ito ng administrative control natin. So the labor advisory, yung previous labor advisory is about suspension, but the present labor advisory highlights yung options to suspend and adopt alternative work arrangement. Naka-highlight po talaga yung telecommuting kasi sa report po namin, kakaunti po yung nag-avail ng telecommuting. Sayang naman po ito. And even the government promotes yung telecommuting para ma-decongest din po yung ating major roads dito sa Metro Manila. So we're trying also to advocate and make telecommuting popular, but kaunti lang po yung nai-report sa amin. So dito, kanina nanggaling tayo sa OSH program, determination ng HIRAC, at pag nakita ng safety officer na merong imminent danger at nag-implement siya ng control, and in the course of the implementation ng control, susceptible pa rin or vulnerable pa rin yung ating mga workers sa imminent danger, because imminent danger cannot really, may mga imminent danger na notwithstanding yung controls na i-administer mo, hindi talaga sila maalis. Yung imminent danger ng natural calamity, mahirap siyang i-address. Kaya most imminent danger like yung mga cyber attack, yung pandemic, ang karamihan sa kanila talaga isuspend yung operations for a time until yung imminent danger ay na-address, nawala na, para maging safe din yung ating mga workplaces at maging safe yung ating mga manggagawa. Pero ano ba ang parameters whether to suspend work or adopt alternative work arrangement? So dito sinasabi ng labor advisory natin na depende pa rin ito sa negosyo, nature ng negosyo po ninyo. Kung ang negosyo ba ninyo kailangan siyang tumuloy ng trabaho, considering meron mga perishable materials na na-deliver na at kailangan talagang gawin yung produkto, dapat din makonsider yung ano ang sinasabi ng ating government authorities. Kung sinasabi ng pag-asa ay, for example, kung yan ay typhoon, kung sinasabi ng pag-asa ay signal number 5, and then sinasabi ng pag-asa halimbawa red yung kanilang rainfall warning na nasa mataas na, I think greater than 200 millimeters ata yung pag-red. And then nagpa-evacuate na yung PHIVOLCS dahil yung expected na ashes, expected na impact from the volcanic eruption ay that extensive. So lahat yun ay dapat i-consider, plus the fact that the Malacanang itself nag-declare na ng suspension in the public sector. So dito sa slide na ito, arrangements to ensure worker safety and health, sinasabi natin, wala tayong one model fits all circumstances. Ang sinasabi ng Department of Labor and Employment through the Labor Advisory, tingnan yung negosyo, tingnan yung nature ng negosyo, tingnan yung mga available na information ng pag-asa and other government agencies, and tingnan yung work suspension in the public sector. Lahat yan within the context ng Occupational Safety and Health Program, within the context ng imminent danger as determined by the safety officer, as determined by the Safety and Health Committee. Doon natin i-decide kung ito ba ay mag-suspend ba tayo ng work, mag-partially ba tayo mag-suspend ng work, or buong workplace suspend, or tayo mag-adapt ng telecommuting for a time and then i-assess from time to time, at kung wala nang imminent danger, pwede nang ibalik siguro. May mga companies kaming nakita na ang kanilang strategy ay ganito na, nature of business, nag-rely sila sa information ng pag-asa and as well as declaration ng work suspension, kasi ito ay built-in na sa kanilang business continuity and resiliency plan, yun ang tawag ng company na yon. So meron na silang distinct na sa kanila or defined na sa kanila yung courses of action after ma-determine yung mga information ng pag-asa and whether may work suspension in the public sector. Sa kanilang business continuity and resiliency plan, nakalagay na yung kanilang suspension, for example, ay subject to review at the end of the day. Mag-i-issue sila ng advisory around 11 p.m. for work in the next day. May mga ganun mekanismo para para time-bounded yung suspension of work at maayos din yung agreement when ano yung extent as well as duration ng alternative work arrangement natin. And then, similar provision dito ay yung mga workplaces na iba ang kanilang service. Ang kanila naman ay parang sa labor code, ito ay national interest industry sinasabi sa labor code. But within the context ng disaster preparedness and calamity response, ito yung public utilities, ito yung mga kuryente na dapat tuloy-tuloy at mapabilis yung pag-aayos kasi it will impact on recovery, it will impact sa mga nabiktima ng disruptive events. Yung mga health services na kailangan to continue dahil yung mga biktima dapat magamot at ma-prevent natin yung pagkalat halimbawa ng cardiovascular diseases or other mga nakakahawang sakit. And then nandyan yung vital operations. Nilagyan natin ng catch-all phrase na vital operations. Pero yung vital operation po, hindi po ito vital in the sense na kailangan pumasok to continue the business. Yung vital operations po dito na phrase relates also or within the context of disaster preparedness and calamity response. Ito yung mga vital operations, vital services, essential function, essential activities na dapat tumuloy to safeguard yung lives, i-maintain yung ating critical services like telecommunication, and to ensure also rapid recovery natin. Ang mga example dito, yung mga medical and hospital operations, firefighting, law enforcement, evacuation and relief distribution. Yung nabanggit ko na kanina, communication lines for emergency alerts, yung power supply, yung transportation para maidala yung mga kailangan ng affected natin ng mga communities and workplaces. And then also yung resumption ng water and sanitation, water services and associated sanitation facilities natin. So yun po yung context ng ating vital operations. And maraming vital operations dahil ito ay vital nga to the national interest. Ito ay either operated by the government or ito ay privatized but may stake pa rin ang government natin. So sa mga workplaces po na ito covered ng public utilities, health services and other vital operations, ini-encourage natin na dapat may nakaplano din sila, may business continuity din sila na yung kanilang workers na papatrabahuin, mga employees na papareport sa work, dapat fit to conduct yung required operation and dapat tama lang sa that can also respond to emergency situation. And in coming up with the skeleton force, dapat klaro din yung parameters ng extent ng trabaho because karamihan dito sa public utilities, health services, and vital operations, may associated issue naman po ito ng fatigue. So whenever our workers naman ay overwork na, prone na rin sila sa aksidente and prone na rin sila sa pagkakasakit. So dapat balanse pa rin kahit sila ay naka-skeleton force. And then meron din tayo mga workers na kailangan mag-render ng emergency overtime and rest day work. Ito ay may specific provision sa ating labor code. This relates yung nabanggit ko na kanina. May emergency work, kailangan gawin yung trabaho dahil perishable yung mga products and other similar conditions. Next, kung ito naman, to clarify lang, sa iba-ibang arrangements natin whenever there is a disruptive event, ano naman ang compensation models natin? Ang sinasabi natin that the work no pay principle will apply dito sa mga disruptive events. So meaning, pag hindi ka nagtrabaho, posibleng hindi ka makakuha ng sweldo unless merong company policy na generous or company practice na generous na nagbibigay pa rin ng bayad, benefit kahit na walang trabaho because ang mga empleyado were affected by the disruptive events. Kung ito ay may collective bargaining, baka may mga provisions sa collective bargaining na bigyan pa rin ng benefit yung ating mga manggagawa considering na nabiktima naman sila. Or workers can actually avail ng kanilang leave benefits, meaning bababayaran pa rin sila ng sahod because of the leave benefits granted to them. But whenever those leave benefits are already utilized, then magbabayad na tayo. Yung the no work, no pay principle will apply sa kanila. And then sinasabi natin na doon sa nabanggit ko kanina na public utilities, health services, and other vital operations na sila ay kailangan magtrabaho, yung tatanggapin nila ay not less than, unless again, may favorable company policies, merong provisions in the collective bargaining agreement na more favorable. Kung wala naman, dapat yung kanilang benefit in terms of pagtatrabaho na rest day, pagtatrabaho na holiday, pagtatrabaho ng 10 p.m. to 6 in the morning, dapat naka-align pa rin, or yung labor code provision shall apply to them, yung 30%, additional 10% kung may night paid differential, yung 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. na work naman natin. Pero hina-highlight din natin dito yung importance also of recognizing yung ating mga manggagawa na sila ay nahirapan during disruptive events, and considering also yung magandang performance nila, contribution sa ating workplaces, naglagay tayo dito ng provision. It's a provision that encourages employers to offer additional incentives. Kung ang mga workers natin ay nagtrabaho, other than giving yung what is due to them under the labor code, pwede pa silang bigyan ng hazard pay. Kung medyo mahirap yung transport, pwedeng transport services, lalo na kung ang shift ay hindi yung usual time natin ng 8 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock, and other additional incentive na probably present ngayon sa inyong mga industries. Kasi iba-ibang incentive, model of incentives sa manufacturing, sa transport, sa mining, so iba-iba. So kung ano yung prevailing at that would also apply to your workplaces, baka pwede nating ibigay during the disruptive events also, and sa mga workers natin na nagtatrabaho. And whenever workers are reporting for work during disruptive events, sinasabi namin sa DOLE na pangalagaan naman natin, ang ginamit natin ay humane conditions, humane working conditions. Siguro naman, hindi naman ganun ka-expensive yung safe drinking water. Dapat lang, temporary lang naman ito na mabigyan sila ng safe drinking water while working during disruptive events. Baka merong temporary accommodation na pwede silang ma-house, para hindi sila ma-expose lalo sa imminent danger kung tuloy-tuloy yung mga disruptive events, and other similar accommodation with highlighting also na dapat distinct yung facilities for men and women. So dito ini-encourage natin na dapat tingnan yung welfare ng ating mga manggagawa in terms of facilities. Itong welfare facilities po, hindi po ito bagong provision. Na present na po itong welfare facilities sa RA 11058, Department Order 252, and other previous issuances of the Department of Labor and Employment. The next slide also highlights yung important role ng ating mga manggagawa na i-inform yung ating mga employers of imminent danger. Kasi ang ating RA 11058, merong right to refuse work whenever there's an imminent danger. Pero dapat ating mga manggagawa, i-inform din yung ating mga employer na, hey, I live in Intramuros, and there's a big there's a socio-political event around Luneta, hence I cannot go to Pasay, for example. And then yung event na yon ay may gulo ng kaunti. In fact, may mga law enforcement authorities presently managing the situation. So ganon ang expectation natin from the workers then. Pag sinabi ng mga workers, hey, I'm living in subdivision X in Rizal, and the area is currently flooded, I cannot go out from work, and then mabe-verify naman natin sa mga report ng media organization. And in fact, nakalimutan ko lang yung app or website na pwede mong tingnan kung ano yung area na bumabaha all over the country. Pero may ganung app. Kung na-verify naman ng safety officer yon, then makikita niya kung yung mga worker natin, for that particular worker in Rizal, kung may imminent danger nga arising from rising flood waters. Makikita naman yon. Pero kung siya ay halimbawa Novaliches area na medyo mataas-taas naman, and then sa sinasabi na may malaking flood sa Novaliches halimbawa sa matataas na lugar ng Novaliches, pero chinek ng safety officer sa map na nakalimutan ko lang, hindi ko maalala ngayong Krisa kung ano yung map. I think sa UP nagsimula and then inadapt ng DOST ngayon where you can actually view yung whether baha ba yung area mo, and wala ding report from the media na baha yung area na yon, then the employer naman can notify the worker na, hey, thank you for notifying us, but can you send a picture kung ano yung mga situation mo ngayon? And that process ay wala dito sa labor advisory because yung ganong process should be embedded sa company rules and regulation on operationalization, yung right to refuse work, and the same time, proper notification, assessment ng imminent danger. Saan rooted yung ganong principle? Nandoon yun sa duty ng safety officer to validate presence or absence ng imminent danger. Remember, hindi naman bago yung safety officer's role in determining imminent danger. Whenever workers report na merong imminent danger, kung nasa workplace, under the context ng RA 11058, under the context ng DO 252, ang response ng safety officer ay i-validate. Pero dito sa ating labor advisory, because this covers yung going to and then traveling from work to home, and then kung may mga imminent danger sa ruta at nag-inform yung workers, kailangan din i-validate ng ating safety officer ano yung truth, ano yung probability na yung situation being reported ay merong kasamang imminent danger. Ganon po yung ating proseso dito. Hence, yung highlight, yung importance also of these provisions that provision that requires workers to inform employers ano ang imminent danger, saan siya nakatira, and sa assessment niya, how long will the imminent danger last, for example. Depende kasi kung ano yung imminent danger na na-encounter ng ating mga workers. I hope clear po itong slide na ito. At minsan ito yung mga issues na kailangan nating i-address at pag-usapan talaga. And then yung reporting kasi, yung right to refuse work, reporting ng imminent danger, that should not be taken against the worker. Dapat open, part ng ating business continuity plan, part ng ating occupational safe and health program, yung pag-accommodate ng right of our workers to refuse work, right of our workers to report imminent danger. Kasi nasa batas po yun nasa RA 11058, nandyan din po yan sa RA 252. So dapat whenever workers report imminent danger, whenever our workers fail or refuse to work because of a perceived imminent danger, dapat wala po tayong disciplinary action. Again, the response of the safety officer ay to validate, and in validating, safety officer may require submission of proof. Safety officer should also look into yung mga advisories of relevant government organization, and probably helpful din ma-accommodate sa inyong mga OSH program and business continuity plan, yung app na sinasabi ko kanina and website where you can actually see yung levels of flooding or susceptible sa flooding na mga lugar. And the more importantly also, yung profiling na nagawa na natin. Kasi kung alam na natin kung saan yung manggagawa natin, saan dumadaan, then ibabangga mo ngayon sa yung app or website na kung saan yung area na binaba. At kung nakita mo na talagang iyan ay susceptible to flooding, then madaling i-validate yung claim ng ating mga workers. Hindi dapat ito maging source ng dispute. Dapat ganun yung may framework tayo of assessment, validation, as well as declaring kung may imminent danger o hindi. And whenever merong imminent danger o walang imminent danger, ang susunod natin na action, base sa ating business continuity plan, anong susunod natin na gawin? Partial report to work, telecommuting, and other arrangement that might be suited to the nature of your business or that practice that is common sa inyong industry. And then meron tayong, ito lang ay so sinasabi natin na baka hindi ito dapat i-highlight natin kasi ang ating aspect ay prevention. Dapat all of us should work towards addressing imminent danger sa workplace, sa mga negosyo, sa mga manggagawa, and removing yung vulnerabilities ng ating mga workers para hindi sila magkakasakit, maaksidente or mamatay. But kung tuloy-tuloy pa rin itong mga refusal and na-identify dito yung failure to refuse to conduct HIRAC, wala tayong kinonduct na HIRAC as a basis for determining risk, hazard, and towards that context, appreciating kung may imminent danger o hindi, or nag-conduct tayo ng HIRAC but hindi maayos yung implementation ng control measures, or maganda yung pagkasulat ng OS program, maganda yung pagkasulat ng business continuity plan, pero hirap tayo sa implementation ng control, or hindi tayo nakapag-implement ng measures para maging safe and healthy yung ating mga manggagawa, or hindi tayo nagbayad ng sahod na naka-align yung minimum standards sa labor code, posible po maging liable tayo under 11058 and yung implementing rules and regulation ng RA 11058. Pero sinasabi nga ni Sec Benny, wag na tayong umabot sa usapin na maghahabol tayo ng mga penalties. Dapat, again, gusto kong emphasize at gustong sabihin ng DOLE, doon tayo sa mas preventive approach. Having a good, comprehensive, and responsive OSH program with a component on business continuity and resiliency. Meron din tayong capacity building ng ating mga safety officer in appreciating imminent danger and in implementing control measures and profiling ng ating workplace, profiling ng ating mga manggagawa, and then nakamapa na yung ating iba-ibang options whenever yung iba-ibang disruptive events will happen sa ating mga workplace. But if dispute resolution ay tutuloy pa rin, sinasabi natin dapat i-resolve ito at the bipartite level. So mag-usap at the workplace either through dialogue, pwede kayo mag-consult, or kung kayo ay may labor and management committee, kayo ay organized, dapat doon sa grievance machinery, grievance mechanism established sa collective bargaining agreement. Alam mo, walang substitute sa dialogue, walang substitute sa consultation. Mahirap na kung lalabas pa kayo at kung ano pang mekanismo ang gagawin. Dapat at the workplace level, we should be able to resolve yung ating mga dispute. But in cases na hindi pa rin ma-resolve, nakahanda naman po ang DOLE sa aming mga regional, provincial, or field offices to accommodate all of you at maghanap tayo ng solusyon sa inyong mga issues through the conciliation and mediation process naman. And in coming up with a business continuity plan, marami kaming technical assistance na pwedeng ibigay. Sinulat ko dyan, hindi lang siya hyperlink, but you can actually type pwede kayong pumunta sa National Wages and Productivity Commission. It's an attached agency of the Department of Labor and Employment kasi meron silang business continuity and resiliency planning module. Kung wala kayong ganong module po ngayon, bago lang ito sa inyo, meron silang module at nagkakandak sila ng training program for free at pwede ka po yung umattend doon. Itong business continuity and resiliency planning ay kinakandak din ito online. Meron ding e-campus ang NWPC. Basta puntahan niyo lang po yung website ng National Wages and Productivity Commission and please explore itong business continuity and resiliency planning module. But aside from this module, marami pa pong magagandang training modules, training programs ang National Wages and Productivity Commission, all designed to improve productivity ng ating mga workplaces. Ini-encourage din po namin mga workplaces, although nasa labor code po na ito na dapat mag-maintain kayo ng 3 years na employment records, pero marami pa rin sa ating mga workplaces na walang employment records. Importante din po yung employment records to determine or to resolve yung ating disputes arising from yung occurrence ng disruptive events. And then yung ating mga reportorial requirements, pag kayo po ay nag-telecommuting, nag-adapt ng work arrangement, virtual na po lahat yung reporting natin sa online compliance portal ng Department of Labor Employment. Pumunta lang po kayo sa reports.dole.gov.ph and nandoon po yung iba-ibang reporting mechanism. Pakicheck na lang, Krisa, kung tama yung nilagay ko, but kung mali, please type na lang sa ating comment box ng Facebook para masundan tayo ng ating mga nakikinig and nanonood. Please also type itong link sa NWPC Productivity Toolbox para i-click na lang po ng ating mga followers, ng ating viewers sa ating Facebook, sa ating webinar. And then yung DOLE naman po natin ay nakahandang tumulong. Again, tumulong po sa mga paggawa ng programs. And then kung hirap po kayo to comply with some occupational safety and health standards, lumapit lang po kayo sa DOLE para we can link you with an organization and probably a training organization para po ma-address po yung inyong mga gaps on occupational safety and health standards. And then ang last na lang po siguro, itong message po siguro ng department on labor rights protection at the same time po balancing talaga yung interest na also ng ating mga employers. Hindi naman po ito bago, ito ay nasa constitution po natin, just share in the fruits of production, nandyan yung konsepto ng decent work, and then nandyan yung konsepto ng strengthened labor rights protection. So itong labor advisory was crafted po in those contexts. Ang labor advisory natin was drafted within the prevailing OSH principles natin, considering also yung concepts ng disaster preparedness and recovery natin. And nakita din natin na importante and timely yung pagre-review ng ating labor advisory dahil we are seeing yung amplified impact ng climate change sa ating mga workplaces, sa ating mga manggagawa, at sa ating mga nagninegosyo. So marami pong salamat for joining us this afternoon. I hope I was able to convey and clarify some of your concerns. But if there are concerns, we can take a few questions, Krisa. But you may also want to email us at ask@bwc.dole.gov.ph o pwede po kayong sumulat sa amin sa Bureau of Working Conditions, Department of Labor and Employment, Intramuros, Manila. Thank you, Krisa.
Thank you so much po, dear Alvin. So just to add lang po dun sa nabanggit niyo po kanina, yung isa po dun sa mga related dun sa workers' duty to inform employer po of imminent danger. So yung nabanggit po natin na program po, dear Alvin, was the Project NOAA po.
NOAA.
So just to add po, it was the Primary Disaster Risk Reduction Management Program na minanage po ng University of the Philippines and in-administer po ng DOST. So you could use po the application to get, I think naka-up pa rin naman po ang Project NOAA. So na-access pa rin po siya. And we were able to double check rin po the link of the NWPC. So tama naman po yung link, sir. And then our team po have included it on the comment section of this live feed. Sige po. So thank you so much po, Director Alvin, for very informative discussion. So sigurado rin po ako na marami po natutunan ng ating mga tagapanood at maging po ako ay may mga dagdag kaalaman din pong nakuha mula sa inyo pong webinar po. For at this point naman po, we will start na rin po, Dear Alvin, to answer the questions submitted during today's presentation. So sa mga may pahabol pa pong mga katanungan, maaari po ninyong i-type sa ating comment section yung mga idadagdag pa po nating mga questions. So Dear Alvin, ang ating first question po, number 1, who declares imminent danger?
Nabanggit ko na, Krisa, na yung declaration ng imminent danger natin, ang magde-declare ay safety officer natin. In fact, bago ka maging safety officer, part of your training, yung basic occupational safety and health training na mandatory. Pag ikaw ay naka-attend, alam mo na mag-conduct ng hierarch and expected na rin sa iyo to appreciate yung concepts ng risks, concept ng hazard, and how those risks and hazards will constitute imminent danger. So ang imminent danger, basta isipin talaga natin yung imminent danger, sitwasyon, kondisyon na makaka-expose ng ating mga manggagawa sa pagkakasakit, pagkaka-aksidente, or pagkakamatay. Siguro ang isang basic example nitong imminent danger, kung ikaw ay halimbawa, yung flooding, yung flood is a hazard. Yung levels ng flood, kung gaano kataas yung flood, is a risk. Kung hanggang tuhod mo, pwede mong medium risk, pero kung hanggang dibdib niya, high risk na yung flood. Pero kung tuloy-tuloy yung pag-rise ng ating flood at lumalakas at posibleng na maaksidente ng mga manggagawa, then diyan na sasabihin ng safety officer, oh, there's an imminent danger at posible yung mga manggagawa residing or dadaan sa location where the flooding is currently reported na ganun ang situation na imminent danger na sabi ng safety officer, oh, may imminent danger sa ating mga manggagawa dahil doon sa sitwasyon as reported. So ang imminent danger pala, Krisa, is not a universal declaration. Wala siyang aspetong universality. Ito ay location-based and dapat supported by evidence, yung declaration ng imminent danger. Hindi ko pwede magsabi, oh, yung buong Metro Manila ay imminent danger. O yung buong Pilipinas ay imminent danger. Nanggaling ang declaration ng imminent danger sa appreciation ng konteksto ng risk and hazard. And ito nga ay hindi universal.
Okay, Dear Alvin. So, syempre po, in terms of the imminent danger, mas okay rin po if supported by facts po. At evidently, nandyan po talaga or kitang-kita yung imminent danger itself. Thank you po. Next naman po, our next question po. Does that mean pag maraming lamok or cases of dengue, pwede na mag-refuse to report for work yung employee?
Kung nasundan niyo yung aking talk kanina, Krisa, I started my talk with a comprehensive and responsive occupational safety and health program. I also started my talk on control measures. So dapat ang response kung maraming lamok ay to implement control measures natin. At dapat makita na nag-implement ng control measures or alam ng management na yung marami tayong mga vector-borne diseases na madadala as a result ng maraming lamok, then probably may imminent danger in that context. Pero I think this is an oversimplified situation, but kung maraming dengue, ang gagawin ay meron tayong mga controls na dinidevelop ng DOH, yung 4 o'clock habit, meron tayong yung nilalagay sa balat, marami tayong mga control measures na pwedeng ibigay. At dapat ito ginagawa ng ating mga employers where yung prevalence ng dengue cases ay mataas. But kung tuloy-tuloy ang dengue cases at may nagkakasakit na sa ating mga manggagawa, titingnan ngayon ng ating mga safety officer, may imminent danger nga ba? Ilan ang nagkakasakit sa communities? Ano ang sitwasyon sa workplace that will expose our workers to dengue? Ito ba ay hindi kaya natin gawa ng paraan or kaya natin mag-suspend ng work half day para mag-spray, mag-clean, or mag-telecommuting ka muna ng half day while nag-clean and nag-implement ng control measures yung ating mga manggagawa. So ganun natin titingnan yung situation natin. Dapat determination, again, yung nasabi ko kanina, may imminent danger ba? Na-implement ba yung control measures? And yung tuloy-tuloy na pagtatrabaho will expose workers to imminent danger.
Po, Dear Calvin. So malaking bagay rin po yung gagawin rin po ng company to make sure po na nagawa muna natin yung mga controls bago po tayo mag-proceed to the other remaining controls po, lalo po if related na sa refusing of work or reporting of work na po ng employee. Salamat po, Dear Alvin. Next naman po, what documents can we ask employees as proof of danger? I think
Maganda, Krisa, na nasagot mo at na-validate mo na yung Project NOAA pala ay existing pa. So kung ang issue ay calamity, so yung Project NOAA will probably provide you with a perspective ng reported imminent danger ng ating mga manggagawa. Pero kung imminent danger ay volcanic eruption, parang wala naman yun sa Project NOAA, so magre-rely ka ngayon sa declaration ng CBOX, ng NDRRMC. You will also consider yung declaration ng local government unit. Pag na-appreciate mo yung mga declaration, probably hindi mo na kailangan din ng proof of imminent danger kasi yung government issuance, information bulletin, makikita mo na may imminent danger din talaga. But within the context of validating the existence of an imminent danger, yung kasi ang role ng safety officer, hindi naman pwede ang safety officer mag-declare ng wala or merong imminent danger, affected or hindi ka affected ng imminent danger. So ang safety officer will consider government declaration, bulletins, and advisories, and at the same time, i-check niya yung individual condition ng ating mga manggagawa. Again, importante uli dito yung profiling. Dapat na-profile mo na. Kung alam mo naman na nakatira sa Bulacan and then yung workplace mo ay Alabang, and then sinasabi, baha sa saan ba, Balintawak or Manila area, probably hindi siya makatawid ng Alabang. So, parang I don't know kung paano ko ba sasabihin in a proper way. I think kung ito ay imminent danger, in plain sight na, may ganong konsepto na parang nandiyan na, nakita mo na, hindi na kailangan din manghingi ng proof. But kung sa profiling mo, nasa mataas siyang lugar, living in a subdivision na mataas na lugar, and na-check mo sa Project NOAA na hindi siya dadaan sa area kung saan may flooding at wala namang report ng flooding per MMDA, for example, then pwede maghinga ng authority na, oh, I appreciate that you reported that you're in imminent danger. How are you? Can you send us some pictures, some reports, or advice ng local government units para we can also plan and check kung naaayon pa yung ating business continuity plan with your location and the location of our business. Baka ganun siguro, Krisa, yung appreciation. It's not about what documents. It's about appreciating government declaration, appreciating the profiling work that has already been done, and also for the safety officer appreciating other evidence na available na sa kanya.
po, Dear Alvin. So just to add lang din po related to that, malaking bagay rin po if the committee and then the workers themselves have trusted channels, news channels po in terms of getting the right information po, lalo if currently or ganito ang nangyayari as current events. So malaking bagay po if naka-heads up sila parati on the real-time updates din po. And then malaking bagay po if the company itself would have, nabanggit nyo rin po yung profiling. So ahead of time, they would have to include it on the programs na rin po in their BCP or their business continuity program. Para at least po, they have an overview on what to check in terms of that specific occurrence na po of a disruptive event. So, po.
Right.
Thank
Tama
you
ka,
po,
Krisa.
Thank you po, dear Alvi. Next naman po, next question po, can you say imminent danger if mail delivery crew siya and he refuses his night schedule kasi ayaw niya magbayad ng special trips sa transpo niya?
Ang ng ating imminent danger, Krisa, ay nasa occupational safety and health tayo. Ang imminent danger ay hindi siya danger in some other context. It's not a danger na, paano ko ba sabihin? Basta ang context ng ating imminent danger ay within occupational safety and health. Dahil yung pagdi-deliver niya ay probably malakas yung ulan, yung pagdi-deliver niya ay dadaan siya sa isang lugar na may oil spill, may aksidente ng siguro gasoline or truck at nag-spill sa road. So yun yung konteksto ng imminent danger. So ang imminent danger within the context of OSH, may hazardous work, mataas ang risk of accidents, kaya pwede siya mag-refuse sa work. Hindi ko ma-appreciate hindi ko ma-visualize, Chris, itong ayaw niya magbayad ng special trips sa transpo. So, itong mga special trips sa transpo, siguro pagpasensyahan niyo na po, hindi ko po, Krisa, do you know itong mga special trips sa transpo?
In case po kung ang tanong niya po ay night schedule, malamang po sir dahil gabi na. So technically delikado raw po siguro yung pag-travel niya at ayaw niya magbayad ng special trip sa transport.
Yung pag-travel kasi sa gabi ay yung trabaho sa gabi in itself ay hindi natin masasabi na may imminent danger. Kaya nga ang ginamit natin ay imminent danger within the context of disruptive events. Dapat may disruptive events and then gabi siya magde-deliver. And yung delivery during disruptive events, delivery at night during a disruptive events, ay merong imminent danger that might harm the mail driver or pwede siyang mamatay. So ganun tayong konsepto. In that sense, merong imminent danger, i-report niya sa employer na, hey, may imminent danger, I will refuse to work. And then the employer naman, katulad ng discussion natin kanina, will validate through available information. And then doon natin itutuloy yung ating proseso that we already discussed kanina.
Bali, moving on na rin po for the next question. If yung company ang nag-suspend, no work, no pay pa rin ba or need i-compensate ng company si worker since si company naman yung nag-suspend?
Ang suspension of work kasi ay dahil may imminent danger. Ang imminent danger ay galing sa disruptive event. Kaya ang labor advisory sinasabi natin and align also with the international principle, yung principle natin na fair day's work, fair day's wage for a fair day's work, ito rin po ang ina-adapt natin sa Pilipinas. So kung walang trabaho, ang ating ino-observe ay no work, no pay, unless meron pong collective bargaining agreement, may polisiya tayo na merong benefit o bibigyan ng ilang proportion ng equivalent daily pay kung may suspension of work. But in the absence of those consideration, gratuities ng ating mga employer, pupunta tayo doon sa principle na fair day's wage for a fair day's work. And then at the local levels, under our existing national framework, ito yung no work, no pay.
Po, thank you so much po, dear Alvin. Next question po, can workers who are found to be falsely reporting imminent danger be penalized?
Wala pa. Yan yung provision on non-retaliatory clause natin. Falsely reporting. Ang sa labor advisory kasi natin, Chris, within the context of disruptive events and within the principles ng disaster prevention, disaster recovery, and disaster response, nandoon tayo sa validating ang burden and merong duty bearer to determine whether may imminent danger o hindi ay hindi naman sa workers eh. Nasa safety officers natin, nasa safety and health committee. So pag sinabi nila, sa determination namin, klaro yung road, sa pinadala mong document, di natin makita yung imminent danger doon within the context ng occupational safety and health, then papasok ka sa trabaho. Pag hindi ka papasok sa trabaho, the no work, no pay shall apply. Yung pagbibigay ng administrative sanction ito po ay hindi pinapayagan under Republic Act 11058 and as operationalized po sa kanyang IRR, yung Department Order 252. Ito po ay nakapaloob sa non-retaliatory clause ng RA 11058.
Salamat po, dear Alvin. Connected rin po on penalties yung next question. So, next po, hello sir, ask lang po, what penalties can be imposed on employers who fail to protect workers from imminent danger or refuse to halt unsafe operations?
Ang ating, ewan ko kung kaya pang ibalik yung ating slide on, ano ba yung kanina? Yung liability in case of failure to refuse work. Ang kasama natin dito ay pag wala kang hire up, hindi ka nag-implement ng controls, or meron kang imminent danger pero hindi ka nag-implement ng measures, posible ka maging liable under 11058 for failure to implement yung occupational safety and health program. So, ibigay natin, Krisa, yung ating department order, link sa department order 252 because clearly naman po doon naka-outline yung mga penalties for every acts or violations. Hindi sila siguro mag-fit dito sa description niya but nandoon yung failure to implement or to have an occupational safety and health program.
Noted po, dear Alvin. We'll ask the team po to include po the link po for the DO25. Next po, what protections does DOLE provide for vulnerable workers such as pregnant women and elderly employees during disruptive events?
Ito yung highlight ko kanina na specific vulnerabilities ng ating mga manggagawa ng women, pregnant women, and yung mga elderly workers natin, yung mga nagtatrabaho pa rin kahit sila ay nag-retire na. So sinasabi nga natin that in coming up with an occupational safety and health program, business continuity plan, and in planning kung ano yung mga options ng ating mga workers, dapat kung ikaw ay pregnant, dapat mauna ka in the adoption ng telecommuting or alternative work arrangement. Kung ikaw naman ay hindi gaanong on the tech side ang iyong work, ano ang pwedeng gawin mo at makakontribute ka pa rin during disruptive events kahit na hindi ka physically makatrabaho sa office. So lahat yun ay parang hindi naman kaya ng DOLE na i-provide yung sagot sa lahat ng mga situation. But the department highlights lang for the employers, for the workers, through the Safety and Health Committee, mag-usap talaga at maggawa ng plan accommodating yung vulnerabilities ng certain groups of workers, women, yung may differently abled workers, and yung mga elderly employees. Hindi ko alam kung tama, Krisa, na tawagin natin silang elderly employees. Baka magalit sa atin.
Opo, included na talaga po dito, Dear Alvin, yung profiling talaga po. So malaking bagay po if the company would be prepared na rin in terms of the profiling para at least they would have a smooth transition po if there will be knock on wood instances of disruptive events na hindi rin talaga inaasahan. Malapit na rin po, Dear Alvin. Next po, does imminent danger apply for those who are working from home? If yes, is it still the safety officer who will declare it?
Yes, the answer is yes. Kung ikaw ay naka-work from home at ang imminent danger halimbawa ay fire at nakikita naman sa media na yung kapitbahay mo ay nasunog or part ng house mo ay nasunog, then i-report mo. Papasok ka ulit doon sa na-discuss natin kanina na i-report mo sa safety officer, the safety officer to validate it and sasabihin, may imminent danger, ito yung mga options available to you. So suspended ka, hindi mo muna magtatrabaho for a time, and then ano yung options mo while wala kang trabaho, and then ang susunod, ano ang pwede mo pang gawin.
Thank you po. Malaking bagay rin po if fully communicated po talaga yung magiging business continuity plan po sa lahat po ng employees across the company. So regardless if on-site po sila or naka-work from home po. And then last na po, Dear Alvin, last na question po. Paano po pag pinilit pumasok ng employee during natural disasters such as typhoon pero wala pong provided sa company na food or sleeping quarter? May penalty po ba si company?
Mahirap agad sumagot doon sa penalty. Again, nag-report ka na may imminent danger, na validate ng safety officer na merong imminent danger, then the company will not insist on you reporting to work. The other scenario is that nag-report ka ng imminent danger, na validate ng safety officer, na validate na Safety and Health Committee na employees A and B living in Muntinlupa ay hindi affected ng imminent danger kaya sila ay papasok. But employees C and D living lang in Ortigas and the work ay nasa probably Ortigas din ay hindi sila affected ng imminent danger. Hence yung employees C and D should report to work. Ganon yung mga scenario natin. Dapat mauna palagi yung ikaw as an empleyado to report to work, safety officer to validate yung existence ng imminent danger based yung sa panapag-usapan natin mga evidence na pwedeng tingnan. And then the other scenario is that nag-report ka ng imminent danger, na validate ng safety officer na may imminent danger pero pinapapasok ka pa rin, then you can invoke yung right to refuse work doon. And then kung tuloy-tuloy yung existence ng imminent danger, may directive to report to work, dapat po pumunta kayo sa Department of Labor and Employment. Huwag po kayong matakot na to submit your names kasi kailangan po ng documentation din on who reported to work, ano yung mekanismo on reporting to work, yet the company failed to recognize yung existence of imminent danger. Kailangan niyo po ng detalye so that we can also conduct yung conciliation mediation services, hearings, and we can find solutions po for both parties on that sense.
Maraming salamat po, dear Alvin. So that would be our last question po, and that concludes today's webinar. Thank you for sending your questions and for your active participation in our webinar Wednesdays. And syempre po, dear Alvin, baka po meron pa tayong final reminders or thoughts to bring home that you would like to leave to our Facebook Live viewers po.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Gusto ko lang i-reiterate ulit yung sinasabi ni Sec Benny sa atin na yung, again, reiterative itong ating communication, pero sinasabi ni Sec palagi na we expect yung impact ng climate change. We expect yung impact ng other disruptive events kasi nangyayari naman talaga. And before, may mga disruptive events na napipredict na, may mga social and religious activities na meron namang information prior to that event, we should already plan. Dapat mag-profile tayo. And in the course, amid yung paggawa natin ng business continuity plan, implementation ng control measures, dapat nandoon palagi yung sense and appreciation ng value ng ating mga manggagawa. Na sinasabi ni Sec na sinasabi din natin sa Bureau of Working Conditions na ang mga worker ay pinaka-importanting asset. Sila ay, kung ito ay paggawa ng cake, sila ang pinaka-importanting ingredient. Huwag nating kalimutan. We recognize also yung kanilang kahirapan, sacrifices and challenges whenever there are disruptive events. I-recognize din natin yun because yung ating mga workers contribute also to the productivity and profitability ng ating negosyo. At the end of the day, it's yung ating labor advisory. It's not just about labor rights protection. It's about business continuity. By protecting workers, we preserve yung good talent. We prevent yung rehiring. We promote yung continuity ng negosyo. Ganun yung sense ng labor advisory. It's a balanced labor advisory that addresses workers' concerns towards labor rights protection and at the same time business continuity within the context of tuloy-tuloy na employment generation para sa ating economic growth. Maraming salamat, Krisa, and thank you to all of you.
Maraming salamat po muli, dear Alvin. And announcement lamang po, ang topic naman natin para sa susunod na episode of the Webinar Wednesdays ay HIV awareness at work, building safe and supporting spaces. You may also send us an email at ask@bwc.dole.gov.ph or call our Dole hotline 1349. Again, please follow us at Dole BWC 1949 on Facebook, X, YouTube, and Viber to stay up to date with the latest announcements and activities from BWC and Dole. I-share na rin ninyo ang video na ito sa inyong mga friends, family, and colleagues at huwag kalimutan gamitin ang hashtag Webinar Wednesdays para mas marami pa ang maging inform sa programa ng BWC, Dole at kanilang mga attached agencies para sa kapakanan ng manggagawang Pilipino. If you missed any of our webinars, please head to our YouTube channel at doon po mapapanood lahat ng ating Webinar Wednesdays episodes from Season 1 to Season 3. On behalf of the Bureau of Working Conditions, maraming salamat po sa inyong pakikiisa. See you po sa ating susunod na episodes. Again, this is Krisa Darlene Asalom, your moderator, signing off. Thank you so much for joining us today. Ingat po kayo!
Para sa mga katanungan at karagdagang impormasyon, maaari po tayong tumawag sa Dole Hotline 1349 o sumambuni sa mga Dole Regional Field Office na nakakasakop sa inyong lugar